Hello everyone. In this tutorial we are going to be looking at sculpting the torso in ZBrush. This is a follow-on tutorial from sculpting the hands, arms, feet and legs. If you haven't watched those, then check them out first on my channel. So by now you should have good reference material to be constantly observing throughout completing your character. The first and most important step in creating the torso is to create a box in the middle of the scene and ensure that the symmetry is working as we need it to. From here, we will use our already created arms and legs. This will enable us to make the most of using the symmetry function throughout this tutorial. So check that your symmetry is working by pressing X and panning around your model until you see the two cursors. Once you can see them, you may consider this your front viewport, and you can always snap to it by holding Shift and dragging in an empty area. Go ahead and convert this box to a Polymesh 3D and give it a sensible name. This is going to be the base of your character's torso, so I'm going to rename it Torso. Now load in your feet and leg tool into the scene. You'll likely notice that there are size differences and that your orientation is out of place. So append your torso to this tool like so. I'm going to scale up my torso a little bit here so I can see exactly where I want the leg to go to. Always have symmetry on and hold down Shift whenever you scale an object that you want to keep in the exact center of the scene. Okay, we must now move and rotate the leg and other assets into the necessary position onto this front-facing torso. To keep this simple, we can manually do this with each subtool. However, if your character is like mine and you want to keep several of the elements of the feet as separate subtools, then you may want to try making the most of the deformation function. So using this will allow us to instantly apply any movement or rotation from one tool to another. So if you want to move several elements all at the same time, this is a really good function to go to. Okay, so before I waste any time, I need to be aware of what adjustments I need to make to this leg and foot in order to get them in the right place. So I'm noticing here, for example, that I want to rotate the leg and foot 90 degrees on two axes in order to get them to line up with the torso that I've created. I'm going to hide any subtool that I don't wish to be affected by this process. So in this case, I only need to hide that torso box that I've got in the center of the scene. Right, now with the leg selected, I'm going to go down to the deformation tab on the right hand side, and I'm just going to look for the rotation slider. Now, for this example, I'm just going to rotate on one axis. I'm going to rotate on the Z axis, so therefore I want to hide the X and Y. So just make sure they're hidden like this. I'm now going to click on where it says rotate just above the slider and type in 90 and press enter. As you can see, it has rotated my subtool 90 degrees, which is great, but I want the feet and toes rotated with it also. That's no problem. I just need to go to the bottom of the tab and click repeat to other, like so. And boom, you will now see that it has applied the change to all of my visible subtools. Now I also need to rotate the leg and feet on the Y axis. So I'll go ahead and just repeat that process, but this time I'm just going to hide the X and Z letters on the slider. Okay, we are now close to where we need to be. I'm just comparing the position of the box to my legs and feet. Alright, I would like to move my leg and foot out to the left slightly, so that when I copy them over, they're not intersecting with each other. So I can do this with all of the subtools at once in the exact same way. However, this time I'm going to use the offset slider rather than the rotate slider. You can just click and drag these sliders, obviously, rather than typing in the exact numbers like I am. Awesome. So I'd say that leg is now far enough over compared to the center of this box. I can actually just move this box up and down towards where I want the hips to be. As long as I have the symmetry activated and I'm holding down Shift whilst I move, I will maintain its symmetry, as you can see. Okay, so that was a lot of preparation that it was worthwhile doing to avoid any unwanted problems down the line. So I've now got my reference model up on the right to use for my ratios and proportions. I'm now going to mirror my leg and other assets over using the mirror function under the Z plugin at the top of the screen. So select Z plugin, go to Subtool Master and press Mirror. Then you want to mirror on X-axis and append as new subtool. Excellent. So as you can see, I've got a mirrored version of that leg as a new subtool. I now need to go ahead and repeat the same process with the feet and toes. Be sure to rename each subtool accordingly if you're going to keep them separated. Don't be lazy with this, it does help you down the line. I'm now going to start shaping the torso accordingly using Dynamesh, Trim Lasso, and the clay build-up brush, as we have done in the previous sessions. It is important that you keep rotating around your model and use multiple reference images with different angles to help you get this section correct. I'm also going to append the hand and arm as a separate subtool and quickly align them using the Move gizmo. I'm now going to merge down the body with the arms and the legs to make sculpting a bit easier. Make sure that when you do this, you keep your resolution reasonably high so you don't lose any of your detail level. I still recommend at this point keeping the feet and hands separated. If your character is barefoot, then I also suggest keeping the toes separated for now too. It is always a good idea to mix up your references with some anatomy imagery to help you visualize what is going on beneath the skin of your character. I like to sculpt with the arms and legs like this because it is constantly giving me feedback on the proportions of the character and how each muscle flows into the other. It is always best to never be stubborn and address the big changes that need to happen as soon as you see them. I find that you will never stop learning and improving if you take this attitude to your workflow. My character concept is more muscular than that of my main reference here, so I'm now exaggerating the muscle mass and low body fat levels around the abdominals and the shoulders. From here on out, it is very much a case of using your artistic eye to help you. Try to always use circular strokes when you are sculpting forms like this, and avoid spending more than a couple of minutes in one area. So that about wraps it up for this tutorial. This headless figure is now finished. We'll get on to making the head in the next video. Quite a few aspects to take note of here. So as usual, I'd like to thank you for watching. Hope that was helpful, and post your questions below. I'll see you next time.